Welcome, everybody, to the Investors Podcast 2.0 Wealth Mindset, where we dive into the minds of the successful real estate entrepreneur to uncover the tips and tricks that have allowed them to keep moving forward. I am your host, Scott Bauer, and I'm excited that you're here with us. Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Invest This Podcast. Of course, I am your host, Scott Bauer, and we have the land guy himself again, Mr. Jack Bosch, with us today. You'll recognize Jack from episode 58. Because you're a loyal listener, I know you remember that episode, but if you don't, make sure to get back and check out episode 58 because that was a really good one. Jack talks about land, how he's flipping land and how that is working out for him to be able to generate 6, 7, 8 figures in his business, which is massive, So, Jack, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Scott?
Same. Doing very, very well. It is, what is the date today? The end of May, and we are just getting out of this COVID-19, not even out of it yet, but, it's been a few months of this COVID-19 floating around, and, how has that affected you? I guess let's start off with that.
Well, it's a great question because going into it, we looked at that and we're like, okay, we went through a recession before because we've done the land flipping since the end of 2002. Mm-hmm. We did it on the way up, then the market crashed in 2008. And we were able to continue doing deals through there. And that while that happened is that you had to buy them cheaper and sell them cheaper. And so we weren't really afraid of our method not working. We were more like, okay, what's going to happen, right? We were this last year, 2019, was one of the best years of ever for us, for our students, and we teach land flipping. Everyone was doing deals like crazy. January, everyone's doing deals like crazy. February, we're on the same thing, and all of a sudden this Corona thing happens. We're like, okay, what's going to happen? So we went out to our community and we said, like, here's what we expect to happen.
Hey, Jack.
What expected to happen is that, first of all,
real quick, before we go into that, let's refresh everybody a little bit because, kind of give everybody a little bit about more of your background. I probably jumped too soon there, but more on if they haven't listened to 58, give a little bit of background of what you're focused on and what you're doing.
So we're the oddball in the real estate space in that what we do is we do land flipping just like other people flip houses.
Yep.
So what that means is that we've specialized in finding land, usually in the outskirts of bigger cities, or larger mini ranches kind of style land, a couple of hours, 1 to 3 hours away from bigger cities. Right? So what we focus on finding people that absolutely do not want their properties anymore. These properties are not distressed. They're not on the market. They don't have mortgages. They're free and clear. But these people just don't want them anymore. They don't want them because they're getting older. They don't want them because they go through divorces. They get inheritance. It's an inheritance and now they have to pay property taxes. They just don't want these things anymore. So because of that, we get these properties for 5 to 25 cents on the dollar, literally 75 to 95% discounts. And then we turn around and we sell them mostly to social media, to Facebook, and to Land Watch and Land.com and Craigslist and Zillow and those places. We sell these properties. Either we buy them for 5 to 25 cents or put them on a contract for 5 to 25 cents on the dollar. We go sell them at a quick wholesale price of half of market value. So $50,000 property, we put it on a contract for $10,000, sell it for $30,000, $20,000 profit. Nice. Same kind of profit you would make on a house with a wholesale deal. Or we sell them with seller financing, where we mark them up to market value, and then we sell them with a down payment of 10-20% and monthly payments. So we take a $30,000 property, we put it on a contract for $4,000, we go sell it for $30,000 with a $5,000 down payment. So more is a down payment than we actually pay for the property, and then $400 a month for the next 8 years. That generates passive cash flow, truly passive cash flow without any tenants, toilets, and termites. And because it's land, there's almost no competition. You can do it from home. We don't have to go visit the properties. There's like Google Earth and Google Maps. So everything can be done from home. So that's what we do.
And so it's everywhere, nationwide, right?
It works everywhere. It works all over the country, anywhere in the United States. It works. It works from other places. We have students from Canada. We have students from Mexico. We have students from Germany, from Australia. There's a couple in Australia that do something like 150 deals a year in the U.S. from Australia, from Melbourne, sitting there. So it's we got students in Germany that do. We even got a coach now in Germany because he does like 50 deals a year from Germany, doing these deals over here. And even through COVID and everything, you can do that, and that's what we went to our audience with. So if we go back to the initial question, we went to our students, went to our audience, and said, like, listen, here's what we expect to happen. We expect that first of all, nothing will change because we can do this business from home. While house flippers, at least many of them, were kind of hampered because if their crews didn't show up, the crews were afraid, the inspector didn't show up, appraiser didn't show up, the city permit guy didn't show up, all the title companies were delayed. All this kind of stuff was kind of late because everyone kind of tried to figure out how to work from home. We were not hampered. We were not restricted in the slightest on how to do this.
Nothing really changed for you is what you're saying, basically. I mean, you were already...
Nothing changed at all. Nothing changed at all. Except one thing changed, which was very, very interesting. Instead of, we were thinking that, well, perhaps for a few weeks, less people would go buy properties because they're all afraid at home. But instead, what happens is everyone started working from home, and now they have no more supervisor looking over the shoulder. They started spending half of the day looking for stuff online, and they started finding our land. Another thing happened. They were locked down in their apartments, in their condos, in their houses, and they're like, crap, I want to go outside, right? I want to be outside. Even RV parks closed down. I mean, vacation RV parks, campgrounds closed down. So people's like the camping community, the RV community, that likes our land, the mini ranch is more a couple of hours away from town. They're like, I want my own piece of land. And we started getting overwhelmed, and all our students and all these properties started selling like freaking hotcakes. And now I've done a little more research, and we're seeing the exact same way. RV dealers can't keep their RVs in stock. Dirt bike owners are selling that stuff because people have realized how precious freedom is, and they want more of it. They want the freedom of having space. They don't want to have to worry about if they live in a condo, walk down the hallway, and the neighbor coughs that they get sick. They realize that they want their own 2 acres outside of town where they can rather commute from outside. They want their own 10 acres out there, 20 acres out there that they can horse around on. And so our properties have been selling faster than ever before.
So Jack, how does somebody, the example that you gave us, right? So basically a $30,000 property, you buy it for $4, you sell it for $5, and 8 years of payments. Okay, so or maybe you sell it and you get a $20,000 delta, similar to if you wholesale a house, maybe fix and flip a small house or something like that, right?
Sure.
How does somebody wrap their head around this? Because I think for a lot of people, they don't understand they don't mentally get it, right? They don't understand how do I, from a mindset standpoint, how do I do this? How do I really make real money doing this? Can you explain that a little bit to people? Because I think it's important for.
Sure. Now, so I can tell you, I think the best way these things are explained is like, instead of an abstract, in stories. So one of our very first deals that we got was a guy that had just gotten divorced, and it must have been an ugly divorce, but he wanted to build that house in a small town in rural, a few hours away from where we live. And after the divorce, he had just lost his interest in anything having to do with anything that was a joint dream before with his wife. So he literally he actually sold everything off. He moved off to another state. He moved to Colorado, and he just wanted to get rid of everything that reminded him basically of his wife in this case, right? And we have that the other way happening too, that the wife sold it because she wanted to get rid of everything the husband. So there's no gender thing here. So it's just so the guy just wanted to get rid of it. So it happened that was a property that now land comes with property taxes. So he was paying his property taxes every year. And as this divorce thing started to happen and so on, he just stopped paying property taxes. So he probably had like a year or two worth of property taxes. And he just, again, he didn't want it anymore. we caught that. We found out about, like, it was a list of properties that we downloaded from the county, and we went and sent him a letter, and the guy's like, yeah, guys. I mean, he told us a story about the divorce and stuff like, guys, if you guys want to have that thing, I'm just completely mentally done with it. I just don't want it anymore. So he's like, okay. So we looked at it and we offered him $400 for the property, and he took it. So it was worth about $8,000 to $10,000 the property. So he took it $400, and because it was clear he had no more interest in it. And then we literally sold it to the guy across the street for $4,000 that same day.
So, I mean, how big is this marketplace? Obviously, there's tons of land in the U.S., right? There's lots of rural land. There's lots of land an hour, 2 hours outside, right? But how big, how many, I'm just trying to think of how I can enunciate this to the listeners on how big of an opportunity this could be for somebody.
So there in the United States, 95 to 98% of all properties are land, are unbuilt. Only 3 to 5% of the land in the United States has a house on it.
That's a big number. That's a big statistic. I didn't realize that.
I mean, of course, a lot of the land is state land and the state parks and things like that. In Arizona, for example, where I live, 84% of all the land is state owned, at least 16%. But still, if you look at it, there's like 5 cities in Arizona. Yes, there's Tucson, there's Phoenix, there's Yuma, there's Flagstaff, and there's like Prescott, Sedona. I mean, that makes it 6. So that's like, let's say 7, 8, let's say 10 smaller cities. That's it. The rest of the state is kind of like empty. But the thing is, states like California, like Arizona, like Texas, like many states, they're growing. So, and more than anything, cities are growing. So that's why what we focus on is we don't focus on, there's a county in Nevada, it's called Elko County, Nevada. That's an area that we do not focus on, because what we focus on is areas that are either right on the outskirts of big cities, or if you want to go into cities, infill lots in the cities are good too, like empty lots that you can fill in with a house. But infill lots are good too, you just have different dynamics. But our 80-90% of our deals are the deals right in the outskirts, within like 5 to 45-minute drive from the border of the city.
Okay.
Those are interesting properties, particularly right now. And if you look at it, the big city, there's like huge amounts of lands out there. There's probably multiple times more land there than there's actually in the city, or much so lots. And then what we also like is those, what I could refer to, those mini ranchettes, those 10, 20, 40 acre parcels. They're like 1 to 3 hours away from the big cities, but where there's something interesting. So now let's talk about Elko County, Nevada. Elko County, Nevada is full of 40 acre parcels, but it's 4 hours away from Vegas. There's nothing around. There's nothing attractive to do there. There's only coyotes, rattlesnakes, and scorpions there.
Which nobody likes those.
So that's not attractive. You can pick up properties cheap there, but so if we take this out, there's a lot of land that is unattractive in the United States, but we still probably have the same or actually probably more like 5 to 10 times more land that we can do this with than there's houses in the United States. So having said that, we also in an aging population. There's a lot of retirement. There are a lot of baby boomers. They're probably going to go and sell their houses in the next 10 years in the cities. And what they're looking for is a lower cost retirement lifestyle. Because most baby boomers are not rich. Most baby boomers don't have saved. They have not saved enough money to live a lifestyle really luxury. They're going to have Social Security, and they're going to have a little bit saved up to supplement it, and that's it. They can't afford to pay a $1,500 mortgage anymore, a $1,000 mortgage anymore, plus all the extra costs that is in the city. A lot of them are moving outside of the city into smaller communities, and that's where we like to operate, right? One of our students just got a beautiful property. There's 2 roads. It's right in the middle. There's a house next here. There's a house there. This property's worth $50,000. He got it on a contract for $1,900 because it's an estate that owns it. The person passed away. The estate executive, the estate is a friend of the family. Nobody in the family wants to live there. They all want to live in Dallas and New York and LA and Miami, right? but this property is only an hour outside of one of the bigger cities of the United States in a small community with a Walmart and other things. So it's a perfect property for somebody who wants to retire to buy it, because they can buy it from the student of ours for $35,000 or $40,000 with a $5,000 down payment and $500 a month. And now they have something that they can pay off for the next 10 years while they move towards retirement. And then when they're done, they build themselves a small, I don't know, manufactured home there or so. So for 75 grand extra, they have, or 100 grand, let's say total, they have a free and clear house with a free and clear property or a small mortgage, and they can actually have a dignified retirement. So this is kind of what we're doing here. And in terms of why do we get these deals so cheap, is because we have figured out a way to just pinpoint the people, the families, for example, we love going after living trusts and family trusts, because family trust usually means that it's families with some money that bought some assets, and now typically the owners are getting older, and they go and they clean up their estate before they pass away, and they go to their kids and it's like, hey, kids, we got these 5 lots over there. You guys want them? And the kid's like, no, Dad, I'm raving here in New York. I'm doing a career over there in Chicago. I'm doing this. And it's like, we don't want these properties. Like, okay, well, great. Well, our letter arrives. And they're like, well, if nobody wants them, I'm not going to bother with them. We don't financially need them. You can have them, and they give them to us at 25 cents on the dollar.
So, I mean, when you're saying an hour or 2 hours outside of a big city, what if it's a little bit more rural? Let's say you're in the Midwest, you're in Iowa, you're in Nebraska, you're in, does it work better in tertiary markets of those places, or is it better in places like right outside of Phoenix or right outside of Tampa or Miami or whatever? I mean, is it?
It works in those places too. It works in those places too if there's 2 conditions there. Condition 1 is that the area itself is attractive. Like Tennessee is a retirement area. People move to Tennessee to retire, and they're moving into the smaller communities. So the smaller communities, their properties are flying off the shelves anywhere in Missouri and other places, Midwest too. The other part is that if there is something to do, because again, if there's something to do in the area, let's say Arkansas, right? Arkansas, it's like not the center of the world. Nothing, no offense to the people in Arkansas, but it's not. It's more rural and so on. But there is beautiful areas in Arkansas that people want to retire to. There's beautiful area where the people from Little Rock, Arkansas, they want to go for the weekend. So people in St. Louis, Missouri, want to go and they still like hiking, they still like biking, they still like dirt biking, they still like that stuff. So they don't have a problem driving 2 hours outside of town for the weekend to have a blast. Like last weekend was Memorial Day weekend, since we're recording this at the end of May, and it was my birthday too. So we went for the birthday. Thank you. We went up for the weekend to a city called Sedona. And Sedona is like beautiful red rocks, fantastic looking area. The interstate was stop and go for half of the traffic. It took us what usually takes us 2 hours, took us 3.5 hours to get there, because every other car had a big RV on there, had a truck on there, was a Jeep, had a motorcycle, had a trailer on there, and things like that. And everywhere you went, people were having fun, dirt biking, finally being able to get out their environment. And that's how it kind of looks every weekend here. Yeah. So you look at a city, the big cities with like a million people plus, they love having a place 2-3 hours away, and they don't mind driving. Like in winter, they go skiing. In summer, they go hiking. They go dirt biking. So these properties, again, the properties on the 2-3 hours away, they attract the fun weekend kind of people. The properties right around the bigger cities or in the smaller communities, they attract the retirees that want to retire in an area where there's still amenities around, where there's still restaurants, where there's still a grocery store, where there's still a Walmart, where there's still things in there, or where they're closer to the city that in half an hour, 45 minutes, they're at the doctor, they're at the medical center, those kind of things, but where cost of living is lower. So those are our 2 main focuses. The recreational buyer and the future retiree. And the third buyer that we focus on is a financial buyer. That financial buyer is particularly interested in the properties that are close to fast-growing cities. They don't have to be in the fast-growing city, but closer to. But the majority of our buyers are those two, the fun ones and the ones that are like probably in their 40s now, 50s, and they're looking to buy something to down the road retire in style and retire in dignity.
So, as you just told that story, last weekend I was up north of Payson, which is another city here in Arizona. We're doing the same thing, camping, getting outside of the city, just getting out. Like, it was great. We went to a campsite, but the same thing could have gone if I would have owned that land, right? So how much time, and well, I guess two questions here. How difficult is it to sell these properties? I mean, do you go on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and things like that are great outlets to sell stuff or just to market stuff, right? Because it's inexpensive and reach a lot of people. How difficult is it to sell these properties once you do get them? I mean, is it challenging to do it? Is it fairly easy? I mean, is there an art and a skill to it?
So when we teach people how to do this, we focus on the two areas, obviously on the buying the properties and getting the price right and getting the right areas and all this kind of stuff so that you get the best deals and to be in areas that properties sell quickly, and on the selling side. The buying side is really cookie cutter. You just get it, you get it done, you follow our steps and the deals are coming in. The selling side is also, there's a very clear method behind that. And if you follow all the steps for it properly, then it's very, very simple to sell these properties. And as a matter of fact, right now, as I said, we're selling them faster than almost ever before. So the key, though, behind selling them, and I want to answer your question that way, is that you can't just, is that you gotta think about it a certain way. You can't just, and now I want to compare it to the houses. In the house world, selling a house is fairly easy or simple, right? You do the right thing, you paint it the right color, you put the right, for the fix and flippers, right? You put the right granite countertops in and the right combination and you open it up and things like that. And then you put it up there, you price it right, people fall in love with it and they buy it because they see it. You stage it perhaps even more. You make it look like HGTV flipped this house and it just looks amazing.
Right.
And then people walk in and they must say like, okay, can I leave my furniture behind? Can I buy this furniture? Because it looks so much better than the junk that I have, right? So, and then they go move in. You can't do that with land. So you got to think about land differently. You can't put a bunch of furniture on the land, right? You can't put, you can't get the photographer in and take a picture of the tree in different angles, right? Or of the dirt in different angles. So that's what the house, so as a result, most people, even though it's very simple, don't know how to sell a piece of land because they have never really thought about it. And what you need to do, the way you need to think about it, about creating your listing, is that you actually are not, you need to kind of think about it the way that you're not selling the actual land. Of course, you are selling the land. What transfers in the deed is the land once you sell it. But what you're really selling, you're selling the story of what you can do on the land. What you can do after you buy the land. So you're telling the story of the future to the future retiree. You're telling the story that this property is in a community with a Walmart, with a gas station, with a doctor's offices, and with only 30 minutes drive to the next airport and things like that. And that the property is buildable, has water and sewer. That's all important stuff to it too. But most importantly is actually, that's kind of a prerequisite that the property is buildable and has some amenities, but the rest of the stuff is way more important. And even when you show pictures, the picture of the property is one of the last ones we show because nobody really cares about how the property looks like until they understand that all the other things of their checklist are checked off, that they're not going to be in the middle of nowhere, that there's neighbors around, that there is decent housings around, that crime rates are not high, that there's a Walmart or a grocery store close by, that they can go, that they have a selection of restaurants, that there's an interstate close by or something, or if it's like a retirement kind of place, or if it's just outside of a big city, that there's sports and sports clubs and football and things, because just because somebody moves out there doesn't mean they want to sit there just like a hermit. They want to go, they want to enjoy stuff. So you're selling what's around much more than just selling the land. And if it's a mini ranchette, then you sell, when it's like a 20, 40 acre parcel, then you sell the availability of fun out there. Where's the next lake? Right? Is it a known hiking area? Is it known for hunting? Right? Because if people want to hunt, they perhaps want to go park their stuff there, get a tag permit, and then just go hunting from their own land out, right? Start moving
absolutely.
on. So those kind of things are important. So you stress those, and then, oh yeah, by the way, the land is flat and you can build on it, and there's 5 trees on it, right? The land is almost secondary to what you can do with it. Yet what most of the realtors do, when you list it with a realtor, they're too lazy to even go out themselves, because they kind of like use it just like because it's a favor to somebody. They put it up there. They only take like a Google aerial picture shot on there, and then they say this property is available for sale. Build your dream home here, and that's the entire listing. That's how 90% of all land listings out there are. So
yeah,
go our property, if you do it right, if you do it the right way, if you describe it, if you speak to your target buyer, when you explain what you can do there, you have some pictures, you share with them the pictures, where is it in comparison to the world and so on. Now you give people everything they want, and they buy your properties much faster. And we have a very clear, it's actually very simple to do once you understand it. And we have a clear guidelines that we show our students on how to do that.
And you know, it makes a ton of sense, right? Because I mean, you can compare it to whether you put a house up there and it's just a picture of a house, right? Or a house up there that has all the furniture, like you were saying. You're selling an experience, right? It's like they can see themselves living there, right? And so you're doing the same thing on the land. It's explaining to them the experience that they're going to get by buying this land. Now, I think everybody who's listening to this now has been camping before, right? And you go out there, and it's always, I mean, most of the time when you go camping, it's a great experience. You know, it's family, it's brats, it's singing Kumbaya, it's all the fun, right? And so people, if you're able to sell that, people would buy it, and that makes a lot of sense. Here's another question for you. Do you cross over what it is that you're looking for as well by going to these trusts? I mean, do you come up to other opportunities, not just land, like going to, I mean, obviously I'm guessing your letters or whatever you're doing to market to these sellers is going to be directed towards their land, but do you also come across mobile home parks? Do you come across houses, multifamily? Do you come across other types of assets because you're going after that target audience?
Well, the trusts are only like perhaps 5% of what we go after. We're just very happy when we see them in the list. What we go after is land that is worth usually between $5,000 and $100,000. That's our market. That's our sweet spot. Sometimes we expand it or sometimes we go up a little bit. Let's say from $10,000 to $200,000. That's another kind of bracket we go after sometimes. And it just happens that inside that bracket there's trust and stuff like that happen. But then we have a few other filtering criteria. And some things we filter out and we kick out, and some things we don't. The trust we definitely leave in, but we don't really we don't do like a massive focus on those. But having said that, they're just part of that, and we bought a bunch of properties from them. So we always like seeing them.
Sure.
But to answer your question, we personally, in this method, do not go after anything that has anything but land. Having said that, we have, a few years ago, we experimented with that, and we expanded our guidelines out to also include houses and also include some commercial property. And in the process, we wholesaled a few houses, and in the process, we bought a commercial property that's currently used as a car repair shop that we bought really inexpensively. I mean, it's a great deal. We bought it for $94,000, and we're getting $2,200 a month in rent, triple net. The guy pays for everything, the double net. We pay for property taxes. So we're basically making $23,000 a year on a property we paid $94,000. That's almost a 30% cash-on-cash return. So that came to the same method too by expanding our selection criteria. But then we realized over time that we just don't like dealing with houses. Because, I mean, I don't like to, one of the house deals we did, it was the typical tenants from people from hell. They had like 8 people living there. There was garbage bags all over the hallway. There was cockroaches everywhere, and it just was a nightmare to deal with. And I had to go there myself. Luckily, it was only a few miles away, so I could drive there. But with land flipping, like during the COVID time right now, that deal would have not been able to happen because the pieces just would have not come together. So because of that, we just a few years ago realized, what the heck are we doing? Why are we going after houses here? If we can do 10 times as many land deals without ever moving out of our house, because literally all the deals we do are done from here, because you use Google Maps, Google Earth, Google County GIS information systems. You use the website. So we buy these properties sight unseen, we sell them sight unseen. We communicate with the sellers by sending a mail out that is being mailed out to the mailing house that we just upload. We go on a computer, a mail, and we upload our spreadsheet with the property records and the letter, and then they mail it out for us. We have a call center take the call for us. We just make the offers. That's the only thing we still do ourselves. And then we have somebody create the listings for us, and we sell them online. And we just do everything from right here without having to leave our house. And many of our students do this part-time, but still having jobs, and even from internationally. So I was like, we stopped dealing with houses altogether because there's just no reason why. Having said that, personally, we use the money we made from our land flips and invest that in apartment complexes. So we own 400 apartment doors and rental houses and things like that. But the money to buy those has been generated by this method. Right. So instead of using the method to find something that we may or may not get deals with, I'm using the method to what it's doing the best, which is generating massive cash and cash flow, and then use that cash and cash flow and then park it and put it into what we call forever cash, the cash flow that comes in for the rest of our lives forever over into on that side of our investment side.
Well, I think it's really smart that you actually have focused on your niche, right? So you focused on an area. You decided that you're not going to go after apartments, not going to go after houses full time. You know, you're going to just do what you're good at in the land space, and there's no competition, right? I mean, very little competition. You're the only guy that I talk to, Jack, that does this. I mean, really. And actually, after last time, I know a couple of people that signed up for your program and have seen some success already. This has been a couple of years ago. So actually, I know that they've seen success. So I know that it works. I know what you're doing is real. I mean, what would you tell the listeners from what would you give them from a recommendation standpoint? Let's say that they're, maybe they don't like flipping houses. Maybe they don't like going to chase apartment deals. Maybe they don't like raising capital. Maybe they don't like doing that. Or let's say they want to add this to their pipeline or add this to their tool belt of tools to make money. What kind of advice would you give to them for this?
Well, I would first of all, I would say exactly determine what you like. I mean, because if you're like love the complexities of apartment company dealing, which with all the investors and the money raising and the due diligence and I mean, we had a deal go south last year that we couldn't buy, but we're still haggling. Half a year later, we're still haggling over who gets the escrow the escrow deposit back. And we're probably going to lose a whole bunch of money on that deal because on the escrow deposit, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to settle somewhere, right? So it's if you enjoy those things, then go right ahead. If you don't enjoy those things, if you want to do something that you can actually grab your arms around, particularly if you struggled with other real estate investment things, then take a look at the land business. I mean, we again, it works. It works for all people from all walks of life. We have anyone that is stay-at-home mom. We have medical doctors. We have entrepreneurs that sold their company after a year because this made them more money than their company. We have people that are truck drivers. We have people that are dentists. We have people that are you name it, PhDs. We have at the same time, we have stay-at-home moms. We have stay-at-home dads. Everyone, all age groups. 21-year-old kids. 86-year-old lady just started last month and has already gotten their first offers out. So it just works because it works from home at your timeline and so on.
Well, and I know that you've done a good job of providing value to people to join into the program, and it's not like it's overly expensive. So some programs out there that you try to get into, it's $20,000 just to get into it, right? You're not that way. It's not that way. Which is phenomenal.
No, we do have a coaching program that is an investment, but we also have have a startup home study course. We have software that is actually designed to walk you through there. We have a 2-day workshop that puts the software and the thing together. We call the Land Profit Maximizer. And we have different offers, different things that meet people at different levels, depending on how much hand-holding and how much accountability and how much one-on-one support they need from us. But so the easiest time, I don't know, we have a Facebook group, for example, that's completely free, where a lot of people are very successful just learning from there and helping each other and so on. If I may say the name of it, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Land Profit Generator, which is also the name of our program. Land Profit Generator Real Estate Group. And we're actually in the next in a few weeks, very soon we're starting like even a multi-day free kind of training in there. That's you can find out more about under landprofitmasterclass.com. And overall, I mean, there's different places that you can find stuff about us.
Well, and what I want to do, and that's kind of where I was going. I was going to say, how can the listeners find more information about it? Because especially with what's going on with COVID-19, I know there's people that are looking for other opportunities to chase after, and this is definitely one that I think is a massive opportunity for people. So I want to point them in the right direction.
Sure. So the easiest way to get started is if you go either to landprofitfun.com, again, landprofitfun, like having fun.com, or you go to landprofitmasterclass.com, landprofitmasterclass.com. Both places will allow you to get part of, to get some videos and some stuff. And as I said, the Land Profit Masterclass goes to a multi-day free kind of class that we're doing where you can learn more about it. And then the Facebook group, the Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investment Group, is absolutely great. There's several thousand people in there, and many of them are active and they're helping each other. And if you wonder if that causes competition, no, it doesn't, because again, there's 3,007 counties in the United States, and it works in every single one of them. And we probably have 500 full-time people in the world right now do this. And so there's 3 times as many house flippers in our market in Phoenix probably than there are as people in the world doing this here inside the United States.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, anybody that thinks there's never competition, right? It's always, you can always work with people in order to get more done. That's a big thought of myself. And I think of a lot of very successful people out there. It's not about competition. It's about working with each other to get more done. So we'll make sure to include that into the show notes, Jack, because I want the listeners that are listening to this to have a place to go, to get to it. And I appreciate you sharing everything you have today. I think, are you ready for a lightning round?
Sure, let's go for it.
Let's end this call off here. So first question is, how important do you feel that your mindset is to the success of your land flipping business?
Well, mindset is always the number one, no matter what you do. If your mindset's wrong, you're going to find reasons why not to do stuff. You're gonna every little molehill is going to look like an obstacle you can't overcome. So mindset is the most important thing you can do. And actually, I wouldn't even call it mindset. I would call it confidence. So confidence comes from having learned something new and having mastered that and having realized that you can do it. Right. And that's why when you asked earlier, it's like, if you want to do what you enjoy, but you also want to do something that you can actually master, that you can actually get done. So if 15 years ago, somebody would have told me, go buy the $7 million apartment complex, I would have been running, screaming the other way, because it was too many different moving pieces, too many complexities, too many things to learn. I didn't understand half of it and so on. But when I found land flipping, I had the confidence to say, well, if I don't have to buy this thing and I don't have to put any money down for it, then I can do a double closing or assignment or a wholesale deal without using any money. If I can get this thing for 10 cents on the dollar, if I don't even have to inspect anything and estimate any repairs, then I can do this. So my confidence was there. And because of my confidence, I was able to make a commitment and say, okay, I'll do this. And then after doing it, the confidence only rose from it, right? And then you start going up. So your mindset needs to be such that you can trust yourself enough to do something. If you don't trust yourself to do something, then you're going to fail. So if you have somewhat of wherever you are in that end, if you have a lower, if you don't have much of a can-do attitude, then pick something that's easier, because you can build your confidence. With every success, you build your confidence higher.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. Excuse me. What are you reading right now?
I read two completely different books right now. One is called Homo Deus. It's basically about how the humans has to science have figured out, kind of interesting that it came out just before the COVID thing, how the humans the science and so on have figured out how to almost like master every challenge that we have come across, including like microbes and things like that. And we're mastering this challenge too, just whichever way it goes, but we're still mastering it. So, and the second book is actually more like a meditation book. It's by a guy called Krishna Das. He sings a lot of like meditation kind of things, does kirtan as it's called, and it's like his biography. So it's interesting to kind of read this guy's story.
And thank you for sharing that second one. There's a book called I think it's the biography of a yogi.
By Yogananda, yeah.
Similar type book. I'm a big meditator myself. Every single day, I think it's the way I start my day. Every single day, something that's very important to me. But anyways, kind of off topic. I appreciate you sharing about those books. What are you trying to learn right now?
French.
Hey man, if you're honest, that's good luck for you. Good luck for you. I tried learning that when I was younger. It's kind of tough.
I found some YouTube classes that I'm taking, because anything else didn't work. So I want to learn French for a while, because we fell in love with Paris a few years ago, and for the last 5 years, with the exception of perhaps this year, we have been to Paris every year. Because I'm from Germany originally, we go visit family in Europe anyway. So if we're already there, it's a 3-hour train ride or 4-hour train ride from my hometown to Paris. So it's like nothing. And from Paris with 3-hour train ride, you're in London, through underneath the channel there. So it's Europe is everything so close together. It's a lot of fun. So, but I speak German, I speak English, and because my wife is Latin American, I used to live as a child in South America for a few years. I speak Spanish, but it freaking drives me nuts that I can't communicate with people in France. So I'm trying to learn that. Other than that, we're learning management skills, always learning more management skills, leadership skills, because as we're leading our growing company, which has grown a lot lately, we always need to become better at that, and always need to become a better leader of our team in order to safely and prosperly take them into the next years and through these kind of like really difficult times right now.
So you're learning French, and then you're learning how to lead people better in French, is what you're saying.
Perhaps, yes.
What is your superpower, Jack?
I think my superpower is to be able to simplify things and explain complex things, or even anything like in simple terms. Like, I think people relate really well to that, and it allows me to also teach what we teach in ways that people have a tremendous success rate, because they get it, they understand it. I don't overcomplicate it. I actually make it simpler, and therefore make it more doable.
Yeah, no, I mean, that just makes you a more likable person in general too, because people are able to associate and understand you a lot better, which is great. So happy that's your superpower. Now, you kind of already answered this question, but where can we point the listeners to go to get in touch with you or reach you if they want to be part of Land Profit Generator? I want to make sure I share that with them so that we can get them some direction.
Right. So the 3 places, again, the Facebook group, Land Profit Generator Real Estate Group, landprofitfund.com, gets you to a few videos. And then again, we're starting a free multi-day training class we're doing inside of Facebook in a different group. We're doing that where we do every day, like an hour, twice we come for an hour and we teach the ins and outs of what we do. And that is just to get people into action and so on. And that one, you can register for that under landprofitmasterclass.com.
Awesome. Well, make sure to include that in the show notes. For all you listeners that have stuck with us to this point, that means that you love the show. Make sure to check out the resources attached in the show notes. Also, click the like button, click the share button. We want to make sure we get this word out there. And of course, you got to subscribe to the Investors Podcast. You don't want to miss an episode, because if you do, that means you're going to miss some really good content. Anyways, thank you for being here today, Jack. I appreciate it very much. We'll be in touch again. I'm sure we'll have you on again here soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, man. Talk to you. Bye-bye.